AskReddit by Amgen4x. Has anyone ever tried to kill you? How'd it go? Happened when I was a kid. Two boys in the neighborhood wonder what would happen if they hung someone and they chose me to hang. I am fuzzy on the details other than I was swinging when my dad saw what was happening and cut me down. I only remember being lifted off the ground and then in my dad's arms. Did your dad proceed to kick the life out of the two boys, or was he rightfully preoccupied with your well-being? Did the other boys face any consequences? Yes. Best friend from childhood tried to kill me by shooting me 3x point blank with a .45, through the neck, out my back, in my gut and left hip. This all was BC. He relapsed after 4 years of sobriety due to his relationship ending, couldn't handle his emotions and got aggressive toward me and my friends on my property who were just visiting for my birthday, flatlined 2 times in operation, lots of blood transfusions, stomach surgery and a destroyed C6. Bullet bruised my left jugular vein. I got super lucky. Lots of surgery to come, and healing in all types of ways. He faces 2nd-degree felony, but the lovely state of Co allows him to be on bond till final hearing, so we have a man in our streets who tried to murder someone. Happy birthday. He could have just gotten you a card. Kid came to school with a gun in his backpack and a list of names. Kid was one of my friends, not super close friend, but my name was first on the list. He was caught roaming the school looking for me. I had been taken out of school a few days early for the holiday to visit my grandparents and hadn't told my friends. As far as I know, it was swept under the rug. Never saw the kid again, only heard about it from my mother and then later a school counselor I was required to talk to for a while. Never found any news story and reports about it either. This was early 90s. WTF. The hell did you do to deserve being in one? I have 2. The first time, in primary school, a friend and I were watching a movie when his older special needs brother decided that I had laughed at him, and he tried to choke me to death. Just as I was blacking out, I flailed a kick in his groin and he flinched enough that I got free, then his mom stepped in. The second time, a girlfriend tried to cook me to death in a car while I was asleep. She confessed to it later when she was drunk. She failed. Cook you? Oh, I so hope it's a figure of speech for locking you in a car when it's hot outside. I was stabbed by an idiot when I refused to give him my wallet. Still here. If someone stole my wallet, they'd get $5 and a bunch of useless cards as I deactivate them quickly. Yes, a serial killer by the name of Dale Hausner. I was out walking at night when he pulled up on me. I ran into an orange grove before he was able to shoot, and at night he killed a young woman walking to the apartment complex that I lived in. It still doesn't seem real to me, and it could have been me instead of her, and in a way regret that it wasn't me. She was also the last of his victims. Holy fucking shit. I just read him and his partner's Wikipedia. That's fucking nuts. You dying might not have necessarily saved that other girl though, and even if it could have, that's not your fault. I was the victim of a drive-by shooting. I got hit in my right hand, and in my back. The bullet that hit my back clipped the left side of my spinal cord. I am now quadriplegic. Life isn't too bad though. I'm currently in college, receiving SDI and Medicare. I live in California, so weed is legal and my fam doesn't do too bad of a job caring for me. It could be worse. Edit. Thank you for the positive reinforcement. It is much appreciated. Keep it up, homie. When I was like 15, a friend loaded a gun and pointed it at me. I talked him down. 10 years later he shoots his roommate in the head. Some friend pointed a revolver at my head and pulled the trigger. It was empty, thank fucking god, but I was just stunned at first and then livid. I cussed him out and left the party, because fuck that shit. Every gun is loaded. I don't fucking care how many times you check it. If you point and pull, you had better expect to kill what you point at. And take the consequences. I've been shot at, I wasn't the target, but I was downrange. It was scary, but I was fine. 15 minutes later, they were driving away fast. I didn't expect that to return. I also got stabbed. I was able to block it with my elbow and grab his arm and control it. He was like a 20-year-old addict. I'm a 36-year-old construction worker. He panicked and ran off. I had to spend 4 days in a hospital getting IV medicine to combat the infection. I'm fine now. This happened 3 months ago and it still hurts, but I'm fine. Glad you're fine, man. My older sister was a drug addict and generally nuts in the worst way. When I was maybe 8 or 9, I was in the car with her when she started to have a freak out. She became suicidal, saying she would just kill us both, and swerved into oncoming traffic. The other cars managed to avoid us until she hit the median, and then the cops came out. She managed to lie her way out of any medical intervention, said she had lost control of the car, and we went on our merry way with a tow truck. Later, she said if I ever told anyone, she'd kill me for real. I never did tell until I was an adult in therapy. I am so glad you're okay. That sounds absolutely awful. I hope you are in a safe place now to work through those emotions. Yeah, my grandpa tried to run me over a few times. I told that to my mom and she told me how he did the same thing to her. He died last year. No one misses this shithead. Edit. Some people ask me why, and the reason is that my mom and I were not born with penis. Edit 2. Not just because of grandpa, I suffer from severe CPTSD and depression. My family normalized abuse, so seeing so many upvotes and comments mentioning how abusive they were to me, confirmation like that from this many people says a lot to me. Thank you. Just casually trying to run you over a few times. What goes on in some people's heads? Yes. Active duty here. One deployment out to sea, a disgruntled sailor I worked with was being sent to mast because I reported them for a tagout violation. He was going to lose everything. It was his 4th time going up. One night while down and steering, I hear a thump from above. He took 4 CO2 bottles, a homemade Molotov and some gunpowder he snuck on board and essentially tried to throw a bomb into the space I was doing maintenance in, aft steering. I was hurt pretty badly. Luckily someone was doing laundry around the same way and saw him. Able to identify him based on his shoes he wore. They do a birthing check, discover he tried covering them in sharply inked paint. He was arrested and court-martialed at the next port after being contained. Got jumped by 2 drunk dudes when I was walking. I fought like a badger, and they took off, but when it was all said and done, I was worse for the wear. 6 stab wounds, 4 broken ribs, 2 missing molars, 3 broken knuckles, a cracked orbital socket, and a broken nose. Healed up as well as I could, but now I absolutely have a zero tolerance policy for anyone wanting to fuck around. The list of injuries sounds like the 12 Days of Christmas song, The 12 Wounds of Christmas. 1978 or so. Swimming in shallow area of a very large, football field sized, community pool. I was about 6 years old at the time. My sister's friend asked me if I wanted to learn how to go underwater. I said yes. She told me to take a deep breath and then shoved me underwater and sat on me, wrapping her legs around me. I could not get away. Somehow my mother, who was sitting on the surrounding grass half paying attention, figured out what was happening. She charged over and threw the girl off me. Not sure what would have happened had she not come for me. Thanks, Mom. Fuck you, Meredith. Fuck you, Meredith. Had someone cut my brake lines. Felt the pedal go to the floor when I put it in drive. Crimped it and wasn't even late for work, lol. Who do you suspect did it? My boyfriend at the time tried to strangle me. I don't know what stopped him, but that night I fled and went into hiding. I got a restraining order and never saw him again. I hope he is dead or soon. My mum pushed me down the stairs when I was 8. She also left me in a wave pool when I was 3 and couldn't swim. She's a psychopath. My mom did that to me at the beach. A woman rescued me and I distinctly remember my mom being nonchalant, almost annoyed when the lady brought me to her. I'll never forget the look on the lady's face as she walked away. My biological father. He shoved a metal yogurt lid down my throat when I was a toddler. Untreated mental illness is no joke. He was a violent, delusional alcoholic. That's horrifying. I am glad you're okay. My ex-stepfather tried to choke me to death when I was like 12. I was terrified and also at peace at the same time. The only reason he stopped is my baby brother started crying and he realized if I was dead he'd have to be the one to take care of his son. Either that or he realized he wouldn't be able to see his son if he was in jail for murder. But joke's on him. He's in jail now and his son doesn't talk to him. I'd say it went in my favor considering I'm still alive. I'll say though, it definitely caused a lot of trauma lol. I'm so sorry. That is an awful thing to have had to survive. I hope you're working through the trauma and you and your brother are pulling through. Hugs, of the sort you're okay with it, from an internet stranger. My ex tried to strangle me to death. When I started to lose consciousness, I had a burst of adrenaline, got my right arm free, and slammed my fist into his temple as hard as I could. It stunned him long enough for me to be able to push him off of me, jump up and grab my bag with my keys, get out of the house and into my car and leave. Hardcore. I'm glad you made it out of that and hope you're doing wonderfully now. My mum when I was a teenager bullied me into taking a bunch of pills that were supposedly prescription painkillers but I'm not sure. Within about 10 minutes my vision started spinning and my body was extremely hot, then feeling like I was going to vomit. It was night in the middle of winter and I ended up stripping down to shorts and a thin tank top and sitting outside trying to cool off while she ignored me. My dad got home from work, asked me what was wrong and all I said was mum gave me some pills which had him immediately freak out. He was running around, making me drink a lot of water, yelling at her. At the time I just thought she was an idiot, but I realized later from my dad's reaction she must have talked about it to him before because he knew exactly what had happened without me even telling him how many or what she'd given me. Similar thing happened to me when I was 9 but I had mental health issues and had agreed to commit suicide, and was forced to go through with it after I changed my mind. Oh and BTW when I was sorting some files for my dad 10 years later I found a document revealing that a hefty life insurance policy was taken out for me the year before this. I was about 14 years old out with some friends and we got invited to a friend's house where her parents were throwing a party. One of her mom's friends pressured me into eating 5 codeine pills saying it would help me open up because I was too shy. I pretended to eat them then went home. They called me a bummer or something. I ate them before I went to sleep out of curiosity and woke up in the hospital a couple days later. My lips went blue and I stopped breathing. No one would say who that person was and I never saw them again. What a fucked up thing to do to a 14-year-old. My ex-husband did meth and was abusive. The day I last saw him was the day I gave him an ultimatum. Either quit meth or leave. He didn't want either so he got a machete and told me he was going to kill me. What he didn't know is that I called the police and they came in with him next to me with the machete. It wasn't until later I understood how that could be my last day on earth because when DV victims try to leave, that's when they usually end up dead. That was in 2017. That's terrifying. I'm glad you're okay. Smart of you to have called the police beforehand. I hope the years since have been kind to you. Ex-wife poisoned me during a multi-year divorce. Judge made note of it in the final judgment but no criminal charges. She didn't do so well with the splitting of custody and property however, judge didn't like her gaming the system. How did she not get criminal charges? Twice actually. When I was 2. My 12-year-old cousin grabbed my hand at a family picnic, took me up to the above ground 4-foot pool and pushed me in while laughing hysterically. Thank goodness someone saw it happen and jumped in and got me out in time. That kid was evil, and it's no surprise that he is in prison for shooting and attempting to murder his girlfriend. The other time was my 6'4" football player ex. He was an amazing boyfriend before this. It came out of nowhere. While I was at work and he was at my house, he found my old high school diary and read it. I guess my high school dating details infuriated him. When I walked in from work, he took my car keys and phone and wouldn't give them back. Then he slammed me up against the wall and grabbed my throat with both hands and started to choke me. He had me completely lifted up off the ground against the wall and I couldn't breathe. I though